Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Black Kidney Show from Diversity Radio in conjunction with Gold and the London South Bank University. On the show today, we have three guests who are very involved with the kidney issues among the Black community in London. They are Della, founder of Gold, Nikki Thomas, a professor of kidney care at London South Bank University, and Rosalind, a senior practitioner lecturer at King's College Hospital NHS Foundation Trust. I will start with Della, the founder of Gift of Life Donation, an organization she set up after coming forward as a living kidney donor for her brother. Gold raises awareness of living kidney donation in the Black community. I met Della when I myself became a donor for my wife. Welcome to the show, Della.
Thank you, Bertram. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. To start us off, what inspired you to start Gift of Life Donation?
Well, it's interesting because I didn't even think about it. I mean, I was working in Nigeria. I have an NGO in Nigeria for aid orphans. And we were putting children through school, and I was doing that work. And then, unfortunately, I broke my ankle. So I had to come back to the UK, unfortunately. And it was when I came back that I found out that my brother had kidney failure and he needed a transplant. And he was talking about living donation. And I thought, I'll do that. I'll be your living donor. I mean, you know what it's like yourself because you've got that personal experience. And that's how I offered to be his living donor. And I have to say the rest is just history after that.
But what was the aha moment, that moment where you thought, I can start this organization?
I think because I've had experience of running an NGO in Nigeria and I knew, some of the challenges and some of the benefits of that, I think that's what inspired me, that, could I do this here? And I think it was that skill set that I had setting up my NGO that allowed me really to set up Gold.
And what challenges did you face at the beginning of your journey in the creation of Gold?
I think when I was coming forward as a living donor and I was saying to people, I'm going to be a living donor for my brother, it was like, living donation, what's that? Well, Black people, we don't donate. So I think it was the attitude of Black people towards organ donation and living donation especially. So those were the challenges. Well, how do we break that stereotype and mindset that Black people have towards organ donation or any sort of donation, be it blood, be it stem cell donation?
Who does Gold support? Is it only the donor?
No, I think the most important thing is that before you can even have a live donor, you've got to have that conversation with your family. And I think one of the things that we find with kidney patients, they've been told that they've got chronic kidney disease. They've been told by their doctor, you need to go and find a living donor. And for a lot of Black people, having that conversation with their family, well, where do they start? How do they start? And that's one of the things that we do is to support them, give them that information and education to have those conversations, with their family in the hope that somebody like yourself, as come forward as a donor.
What do you most enjoy about Gold?
Oh, it gets me out of bed in the morning. I mean, I literally jump out of bed. But as you know from your personal experience, when you have a loved one that has been on dialysis for years but is able to have a live donor transplant or a kidney transplant, it absolutely changes their life. They can do things they never ever thought that would do, or even just the simple things. And when I speak to a lot of our donors, they've been able to travel back home to Africa, the Caribbean for the first time. We've had donors who, are around for their grandchildren, and I always say that we might not be able to change the world, but we definitely can change the world of one kidney patient.
It does change lives. Knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently?
I think there's a lot of barriers towards living donation, and I think for us now it's maybe taking a step back, and I think that's what we're doing now in terms of raising awareness of high blood pressure, is that if we really want to tackle that issue, we have to take a step back in terms of raising awareness within the community, because actually 1 in 3 people that do come forward as living donors aren't suitable because of high blood pressure. So that's why I think this event that we're doing, educating people, raising awareness of high blood pressure, can make sure that actually we have more living donors and actually have less people coming forward that need a transplant within the Black community.
I'm glad you mentioned the event, because Gold is working in collaboration with the London South Bank University. How did this come about?
That was interesting, because last year during Kidney Awareness Month, we wanted to do something, but obviously we were in the midst of the pandemic, so we thought we'll have an online event. So we had an online event, and we had a huge number of students from the university who were taking part of that. It was interesting. But one of the things that they also found out was, well, actually, we don't know a lot about high blood pressure and the link between that and kidney disease, and even the link between salt, high blood pressure, and kidney disease. So we've got people who are students who have come forward as student ambassadors. So they're the ones who are really campaigning and challenging this particular event.
This is the first ever event of its kind in London. What do you hope to achieve by it?
I think for us, it really is to create that awareness. Renal failure in general, compared to other diseases, it's not on the forefront of people's minds. If you were to say to somebody, I've got cancer, we will say, oh, that's really sad. If you were to say to somebody, well, I've got renal failure, they'll probably look at you thinking, what's that? So for me, it's raising that awareness of renal failure generally, but really getting the Black community to think about checking their blood pressure, because it literally could save their life. I mean, high blood pressure is known as a silent killer. And if we can do anything from this event for World Kidney Day to raise that awareness, then that would be great.
What advice would you give to someone who would like to be a donor?
It's a big decision. I mean, we've got a lot of donors who will say, like myself and you, for us, it's a no-brainer. But again, we're asking a healthy person to have an operation that they don't need. So for me, it's talking about it with your family, thinking it through, looking at the whole dynamics of it, and just making that decision. But I would also always say to people, you know what, just come forward and be tested, because a lot of people come forward and are tested but aren't suitable. But it's something that you've really got to want to do and to think about everything.
So what is the future for Gold?
Oh, the future for Gold is bright. We're having our event. We know we had it a couple of years ago because of you, where we celebrate, our Black living donors. But again, this year we are encouraging a lot of kidney patients who are finding it difficult to have that conversation with loved ones to come along to the event, bring a loved one, have those conversations, talk to people who've been a living donor, people like yourself, and hopefully when they're in a room, relaxed, music, they'd be able to hear the other side of what being a living donor is like. Yeah.
Della, thank you so much for coming to the Black Kidney Show at Diversity. It was amazing having you.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to having coming again. Thank you so much, Bertram.
Definitely. This is the Black Kidney Show on Diversity Radio in conjunction with Gold and the London South Bank University. My next guest is Nicola Thomas, a registered nurse and professor of kidney care at London South Bank University. She's also honorary nurse consultant in the renal unit at Barts Health NHS Trust. Nicola has worked within the renal speciality for all her career and has extensive clinical, teaching and research experience. Her clinical and research work has focused on prevention and self-management of kidney disease, with a specific interest in health inequalities. Welcome to the show, Nicola.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about your involvement in World Kidney Day and the event at the London South Bank University?
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me. We're delighted to have this event. World Kidney Day runs every year. It runs in March, the second Thursday in March every year. And Within the university, we haven't really promoted it in a very big way. My special area is kidney disease, and I've been involved in events in the community, particularly in East London, so in Newham Town Hall, for example, in the library at Whitechapel. But really, we've got our own students and staff within the university, numerous numbers of people, and actually, why don't we have an event in the university? So this is the first time we're really looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Will there be another event like this one, should someone not be able to attend this event?
Yes, well, we've got a face-to-face event next week, but working with Gold, then I think later in the year, maybe in the summer sometime, we might have a virtual event. And because our ambassadors, our students, have trained to be these community ambassadors, we think that maybe later in the year they'll hold their own events in their own communities. So it might be in places of worship, in sports clubs, in dance societies, whatever it might be. So they're going to have the experience from this event, actually in the university, but then that'll give them the confidence to hold their own events later in the year.
Nikki, you mentioned that community ambassadors are students. Why has the university gone down this route?
Well, as Della has said, I suppose what's been interesting to me is that I teach undergraduate nurses quite a lot. And I teach them about kidney disease, but it's about the link, and that's what Della mentioned just now. It's the link between having high blood pressure. Having high blood pressure can cause all sorts of problems, strokes, heart attacks, and kidney disease. And I think the message that I think some students and indeed the general public don't know is actually they can make a difference, they can help themselves. But if you don't know about it, you can't do anything to help yourself, and that's what the whole event is about.
But how would you convince someone to get their blood pressure checked if they're reluctant or ambivalent?
Well, I think the first thing is that people imagine it's going to hurt. And okay, you have a blood pressure cuff on your arm and the pressure goes up and it might be a bit uncomfortable. But what I've learned is some people think actually there are needles involved. There are absolutely no needles. So that's the first thing. People don't actually know what it is to have your blood pressure checked. The second thing is people might be worried about the result. And, our advice is, well, okay, the reading might be a bit high or very high, but actually there's a lot that can be done. So it's a lot you can do to help yourself. There are tablets you can take. The most important thing is that you know the numbers, you know what your blood pressure is, and then either you or in partnership with your healthcare professional, you can do something about it.
Many people don't realise that they're using too much sugar. And they do so because that's the way they were taught to cook, or they like the taste of the food with more salt. How can we change their way of thinking?
Okay, you mentioned sugar. I think that the link is actually with salt. And high blood pressure.
Sorry.
So I think, well, firstly to explain about salt. So one of the issues with salt and high blood pressure and then kidney disease is that the kidney has to work quite hard to get rid of salt from the body. And also salt attracts water to it, so there's more fluid in the body when you have an intake of salt. The thing about salt is that a lot of it is hidden. So people don't imagine that there's salt in bread, for example, salt in seasonings. I mean, okay, you can add salt to your food, but there are lots of seasonings that are very high in salt. Your next guest will explain about that in African cooking or Caribbean cooking, for example, there's a lot of salt used. So I think it's people recognising that salt can contribute to high blood pressure, but again, that actually you can do something about it, and you don't go from a whole load of salt down to no salt. It's like you mentioned sugar, but it's like having sugar in your tea. You might have two spoons of sugar, but to go from that to no sugar is quite tricky. It's the same with salt. It's just about reducing it a little bit at a time.
Should there be more public awareness of kidney disease as other lifelong illnesses, such as cancer?
Yeah, well, we've struggled with this over the years. There have been a couple of big national initiatives, Think Kidney initiatives, where we've really tried to inform the general public about potential problems with kidneys. About 10% of the population actually have some form of kidney damage, but a very, very small numbers will actually need to go on and have a kidney dialysis or a kidney transplant. So I think the first thing to say to people is actually it's quite common, but you can do something about it. So we need that awareness in the community. We know about diabetes now, as you say, we know about cancer, but kidney disease has never really been up there as a health priority. So, yeah, absolutely, we need to do more.
Thank you so much for coming to the Black Kidney Show. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me.
This is the Black Kidney Show on Diversity Radio. My final guest is Rosalind Ajekum. Rosalind works for King's Kidney Care as a lead nurse for clinical practice and education and senior lecturer practitioner. Her clinical focus has been continuous workforce education and recently promoting kidney health literacy among people of African Caribbean heritage. A trained nurse, Rosalind previously worked as a dialysis manager in Ghana prior to migrating to the UK, where she worked at Bart's Health as a staff nurse and later clinical practice facilitator. At King's Kidney Care, Rosalind worked as a practice development nurse and lecturer practitioner. Her MSc in Healthcare Education is currently undertaking a preclinical academic fellowship addressing kidney health inequalities among people of African and Caribbean heritage in renal research. Rosalind is passionate about collaborating and engaging with lay community members, faith and non-faith groups, and charity organizations to reduce kidney health inequalities. Welcome to the show, Rosalind.
Thank you very much for having me.
Can we look simply at what is the function of the kidney?
The functions of the kidney are, first of all, to produce urine. Now, when we pass urine, our body gets rid of a lot of, we call it toxins. Some of the foods that we take in may have substances or things that the body doesn't need. So the body will get rid of them through our urine. So that is the first one. The kidneys also help to make our bones strong. We need healthy bones and teeth, and that is the role of the kidneys. Also, it helps the body to produce blood. So these are just some of the basic functions of the kidney. And a lot of people tend not to think so much about the kidney, but the kidney is the powerhouse of the body.
Thank you. You're going to be conducting a study. Please tell us a bit more about it.
The title of the study is Health Inequalities, Meeting the Urgent Need in High-Risk Group. And I like the abbreviation of it. So abbreviation is hidden. Hidden in the sense that the kidneys are hidden. Most people don't feel their kidneys as they feel their heart. A lot of people, or we all pass urine, but we don't know what is actually making us pass that urine. So that is why I like the concept of the hidden. I like what one of my patients said. He said, a failed kidney is not like a broken leg. You can't see it. It's not visible to people. So that is what the project is about. And our aim is to actually train lay community people to be peer educators, or what we'll call community ambassadors. Now, the essence of this is that we know that people within the communities know people within the communities. And for a very long time, the NHS or the healthcare itself have actually tried to do this, but we haven't had a continuous success. And hence, we believe that using community people would actually create more impact than the healthcare professionals doing it. And hence the reason why we are going that way.
Brilliant. Tell me, what causes kidney failure?
So there are traditional causes or traditional risk factors. For example, we know that somebody with hypertension, there is that likelihood, and I say likelihood, that that person may develop kidney failure. We also know that people with diabetes, that likelihood is also there. There are also people who are born with deformed kidneys. They are born and the kidneys are already deformed. So with that, they are born with it. However, currently, we are now understanding that, particularly among people of African and Caribbean ancestry, we are understanding that there are some genetic malformations that increases our risk of developing kidney diseases.
So could someone have kidney disease and not be aware of it?
Yes, most definitely. So kidney disease is progressive. Is it also asymptomatic? That is, you can have kidney disease without knowing, because the disease would start not immediately. It is different. We have two types of kidney disease. So we have acute, which happens suddenly, but what we are talking about now is chronic kidney disease, which takes years. We have stages where somebody can be at stage 1 and they wouldn't know anything. People will sometimes say they feel tired or they may have headache, but you wouldn't actually link that to a kidney disease. So you can have kidney disease and not know. The same way as somebody can have high blood pressure and not know is the same thing with kidney disease.
Are there any medications available to keep kidney disease from getting worse?
Yes, there is. The beauty is that once kidney disease is identified at the earlier stages, there is a lot that we can do to actually hold the kidney function from declining. So we can actually do that. The first thing mostly we look at is if the blood pressure is very high, there are medications that we would prescribe for the person so that we reduce that risk of the blood getting higher or the high blood pressure leading to kidney disease. Also, if that person is diabetic, we would also look at how we can work with the person to actually control their blood sugar so that we reduce the risk of the diabetes on the kidneys. But generally, there are a lot of health lifestyle changes and also diet modifications that we can work through the individuals to actually ensure that we promote that function that is left for that individual.
If someone has chronic kidney problems, how long can they continue without dialysis?
It actually depends on the stage, like I said. So we have stage 1, and the final stage is stage 5. So like for somebody with stage 1, if we identify that earlier and we manage the disease, that person may not necessarily even need any kidney dialysis or transplantation. It all depends on how we work together. However, for people that we identify them at the final stage, which is stage 5, there is very limited time for them because they would need kidney dialysis or transplantation. Other than that, then they might have a lot of health complications.
You mentioned dietary changes. What dietary changes does a person having kidney treatment require?
So the first thing, and Nikki has mentioned that, the first thing is this relationship between salt, high blood pressure, and the kidneys. So when somebody is undergoing kidney dialysis, or even when they haven't started dialysis at all and they have kidney disease, the first point of call we urge on work through with them is actually reducing the salt intake. And like Nikki said, we've all been trained with salt, and the way we cook, generically, looking back historically in Africa, our main mode of food preservation was actually through salting. So our tongue has gotten used to salt. I was reading a research last week, and there was this link between Black people being extremely sensitive to salt, which even means that we need to reduce our salt intake even further. So the salt is just one part of the life modification. Also, once you have kidney disease, because the kidney helps to actually remove waste product, particularly from protein, we eat a lot of protein diet. So we like baked chicken, we like big steak.
Yes.
So it is important that we reduce that, because all that we take in has to be gotten rid of by the kidneys. That increases the burden and the work on the kidneys.
You were saying apart from the salt and the dietary changes, are there any other lifestyle changes that are required?
Definitely. So keeping fit. And keeping fit does not necessarily mean that going to the gym every day. So there are other small changes that we can make in our lives. Come off from one bus stop before your stop and actually walk. It's rather healthy. Also at home, and particularly for me at home, I've gotten rid of my Hoover. I would only use the Hoover, but I like sweeping with a broom. So just incorporate a little bit of physical activity within the home. And then even at work, stand up at your desk, stand for a while. So it isn't huge ask. It's just those small steps that we take to actually keep physically active. Drink water. And like Nikki, I also teach as well. And anytime I'm going to teach students, I always go with a bottle of water. And the first thing I would ask them is, can I see by hand all of your drink? Then when I finished with the session, I said, the only thing you need is this bottle of water. Because when you're thirsty, sometimes the first instance is to get a fizzy drink. But actually, that is not what the body needs. When you're thirsty, the body is saying the salt intake is high or the sugar intake is high, so reduce it. So what we need is actually water, plain water and nothing else. So just keeping our bodies hydrated, it keeps the kidneys hydrated.
Thank you, Rosalind. I need to get my water as well. You work in collaboration with Black churches. Do you think they have a crucial role to play in raising awareness?
Very crucial role. People of African and Caribbean ancestry, we are faith people. We are religious people as well, and we go to churches, or we like congregating. We are a community-focused people, and we also respect our religious leaders. So I do believe that working in collaboration with them and actually raising awareness is our foundation. If we can get these faith leaders or even non-faith leaders involved, we believe that there is that powerful collaboration in actually bringing more people to raise awareness, get them testing their kidney health, blood pressures to actually reduce health inequalities, particularly in relation to kidney disease.
Rosalind, thank you so much for coming to the Black Kidney Show on Diversity Radio. Lovely having you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
I would like to thank all my guests, Della, Nikki Thomas, and Rosalind Ajekum, for participating in the show. This is the Black Kidney Show here on Diversity Radio, where we aim to raise awareness of all things kidney-related with an emphasis on the Black community. Till the next show, stay safe and healthy. Goodbye for now.